Hey there guys, this is Mike Kim. Welcome back to my Diablo 3 channel. Before this I made a Diablo 3 Demon Hunter build that was primarily for solo, but in a group setting most of the time you're going to be just dealing as much damage as you can and letting somebody else do the tanking for you if it's possible. Most likely going to be a monk or a warrior. Of course it doesn't really matter, as in if you want to use a solo PvE build and go into a group setting, you can. It doesn't make a huge difference. Only that in a group setting you want to provide a bit more utility, especially when you're running with friends, as it'll help everybody synergize and perform better. And that means if you can perform better, you clear rooms, kill bosses quicker, you pick up the loot quicker, and you progress through your campaign faster. This doubly works for harder difficulties, but like I mentioned before, most builds are subject to change, let's put it that way, as even in beta right now they're swapping things around so quickly that we are not sure what's going to happen. All I can say for certain is that when you pick up your skills, you'll want to have abilities that can deal single target DPS, can clear out rooms quickly, and provide utility enough that you will not always have full hatred or full discipline. If you feel that you're not using your resources properly, first thing you need to identify is how is it that you're not using your resources properly. If let's say you're running out of resources too quickly, or if you always have a full discipline, that means you're doing something wrong in that sense. Either you do not have an ability that you need very often, or you just didn't pick up the ability, or you are using the ability too often. For example, Vault here, it costs 10 discipline, and it's great. Okay, the utility it provides is that I took Rattling Roll. All enemies within 8 yards of your destination are knocked back and stunned. This is a lifesaver, especially if you're trying to, if you have a barbarian friend, for example, and he's up in the front, and you see he's dying, he's at 50% HP on your party user interface, you can just jump on top of him and you can stun everything near him for 3 seconds. This may or may not save his life depending on what he does, because if he's already used his potion, or if he doesn't have a cooldown to spend, the 3 seconds might save his life. He might be able to get away because the knockback will stun them and give him some breathing room, who knows. But right now in the beta I am level 11 if I'm not mistaken, and the max is level 13. Vault gives you costs 10 discipline, and my total amount of discipline is 30, and the amount of regeneration for discipline on passive is about 1 a second, which means you get about 60 discipline in 1 minute, or you get 30 discipline in 30 seconds. So what this means is you'll never use discipline as long as you use Vault every 10 seconds, because it costs 10 discipline. If you use it more often than that, you might get screwed, because you might be vaulting into a trap, for example, in the middle of a whole bunch of enemies and with no escape. If that's the case, you might want to pick up a different ability. For me, I decided Vault because in a group sense I'll be doing most of the damage and the crowd clearing, as other players would be most likely single targeting down enemies and such. So in this case I've already got friends that are planning to buy Diablo 3, so that's pretty much how I'm gonna go. So we'll see here, grenades I used as my main hatred generating ability. I took Tinkerer as my rune skill, which would increase the hate generation. This may or may not be correct in terms of the numbers. It says 7 hatred here because it says here rank 4 rune stones, but recently Blizzard changed the beta so that there are no levels, but you get skill runes instead, which are the same thing. They change the way your active or passive skills work, but they are not ranked, as in there's no rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, rank 4 rune skills, or at least I didn't notice that. But anyway, this is good progression, because in the recent patch they already added rune skills, so that means they're getting closer to going retail, who knows. I mean, this is Blizzard time, so we'll see. So anyway, this is my active skill for generating hatred. Passively, normally it generates 3 hatred, but instead here it generates 7 according to this skill calculator. Rapid fire is my single target DPS. It costs 20 hatred to cast, and you can hold down the rapid fire skill to continue casting. That means you'll continue firing. It'll cost 10 hatred while channeling. And while channeling rapid fire, I'll also be launching 4 homing rockets every second that deal 35% weapon damage as physical to nearby targets. What this does is, what it's supposed to do is launch rockets 1 per second. So if I hold it down for 3 seconds, I'll be launching 3 rockets in addition to the normal rapid fire. This is usually for single target. For my AoE, I'll be using cluster arrow. It costs 50 hatred, which is quite a lot, but on the other hand, it clears out rooms like really quickly. As you can see, increases the damage of the explosion at the impact location to 350% weapon damage as fire. It seems very small here damage wise, but it says 200% initially on impact of the grenade, and it will drop miniature bombs that explode for 100% weapon damage each. So it doesn't say how many grenades it will drop, but right now as it is, this seems to be the most powerful AoE damage. There are others like Strafe, which allows you to move and fire at the same time, and Multi-Shot, which fires a volley of arrows for 140% weapon damage. But we'll see, because as you can see here, Cluster Arrow says it unlocks at level 27, and here for Multi-Shot unlocks at level 17. Obviously I'll be using Multi-Shot first, and we'll compare between the two. But basically speaking, if you're in a group utility wise, you'll want to have something, in any kind of situation you'll want something to clear out groups of enemies, maybe bar PvP, because PvP is all about single target and bursting one target down at once. This is more of a PvE kind of skill, where unless it provides a additional utility, like here it says enemies hit by grenades have a 35% chance to stun, then it may be useful in a PvP setting. But either way, for now, it's like I said, it's all up in the air. And as you'll be very static in a group utility wise, you will probably be able to increase your damage by dropping a turret. You'll see here it drops a turret on the ground, turret begins firing at nearby enemies for 40% weapon damage. Once again, it does not tell you 40% weapon damage over how much. If it does 40% weapon damage every second, that is quite good, because if it lasts for 20 seconds, that means it'll be doing 800% of your weapon damage from 10 discipline, which is really worth it, the ratio for damage per cost of discipline. But we don't know yet because we haven't tried this. And it also heals nearby allies for 1.3% of their maximum life per second. I'm not sure if this scales, because at level 60, 1.3% of their maximum life could be a lot, especially if your HP pool is huge. But the main idea behind this is that if I wanted to save a teammate, I could vault into a group of enemies together with my teammate, drop a sentry, and from my passive skill, Grenadier, I'll be able to clear out enemies if I die. This is quite unique for a passive ability. Let me explain this before I go over my 2 active skills. Increases hatred generated from grenades by 2. I've already got grenades here and Tinkerer that increases my hatred generation, so it increases the hatred generation even further. Reduces the hatred cost of Cluster Arrow by 10, which means from 50 it'll drop to 40, which means I can throw more of them, which is great. And it says here, upon death, you drop a giant grenade that explodes for 450% weapon damage as fire. Now this is unique as far as I'm concerned, because I don't know, there are some players that are definitely going to go hardcore, and if they die, that sort of thing, or whatnot, you know. But for me, I'm going to be in PvE, and I'm going to be really enjoying this as a community game with my friends. And in this situation, upon death, you drop a giant grenade that explodes for 450% weapon damage. This sounds entertaining, so I went with this just for entertainment value, because at the end of the day, you're going to be experimenting with so many skills, and you can just swap them out anytime, as you can respec this at any time. You know, you can swap things out whenever you like, and that's the way Blizzard has it, because they made it easy, the barrier to entry for the game easy, but they made the skill ceiling for this game huge. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, like I said, dropping the sentry in within the range of your teammates will help regenerate their HP at the same time. This is especially if you're not killing enemies fast enough, which means there will not be any health globes on the ground and you won't be able to pick those up. I picked the companion here, which costs 10 discipline. It's permanent unless you're picking the wolf companion, which only lasts for 40 seconds. There are multiple companions that you can pick up. There's the ferret, spider, bat, boar, and wolf. I picked up the bat because it will increase my hatred generation once again. So you see here, if the numbers are correct, it will increase my hatred generation by 7, 2, 9, and 11, 2.5 here at level 4 skill rune. But like I mentioned earlier, they changed skill runes slightly, so we don't know if these are the exact numbers, but that could be the case. I will have a very high hatred regeneration ability to keep up with cluster arrows, and that's the plan basically. So alright, Bat Companion, Vault, which stuns my target destination up to 8 yards. Passive skills, I already explained the Grenadier that goes along with this spec. And Vengeance increases my maximum hatred by 50. In addition, gain 10 hatred and 1 discipline whenever you're healed by a health globe. This says whenever you are healed by a health globe. What happens in a game when a teammate of yours, there are 4 people in your party and there are 4 of you killing. What happens when a teammate picks up a health globe is that it will spread the healing to all your teammates. So when it says whenever you're healed by a health globe, if let's say your friend who is playing a monk kills something and he's in melee range of the health globe and picks it up, it heals you as well, and you gain 10 hatred and 1 discipline. When you join a game in a party and there are 4 of you in the game, the enemies are much larger in groups. They come in larger groups, there are more of them, they have more HP, and they deal a lot more damage. So right now in the beta, if you're playing alone, you'll find that there's really no incentive to pick up a health globe because you're already at full life. Your life just never drops below the 50% level. But if you're in a group with 4 people, that means for that level, let's say you're playing on normal difficulty, for that level, the mobs are still hitting harder and still have a lot more HP. At some point in time, right, you will actually be more inclined to go out of your way to pick up a health globe, and that heals your whole party. And this is what I picked up Vengeance for, because not only will it heal me by picking up a health globe or any of my teammates picking up a health globe, I'll get 10 hatred and 1 discipline, which will allow me to either throw more cluster arrows or rapid fire and probably get a sentry or vault into battle. And here you'll see the same passive ability that I picked up for PvE solo. Archery increases my bow damage by 10%, increases my critical hit damage by 100% for crossbows, and one-handed crossbows I get 5% chance to critical hit. I've heard some questions, and I've been playing the Demon Hunter a bit, where the quiver is your offhand weapon. So does that mean you can use a one-hand crossbow and a quiver, or a two-handed crossbow? Okay, I'm gonna answer this question right now. You can carry a quiver and a two-handed crossbow right now, as of beta. The reason for this is that a two-handed crossbow takes up both your hands, and two one-handed crossbow takes up both your hands, but you can equip a crossbow with a you can equip a quiver with a two-handed crossbow, but you cannot equip a quiver when you are carrying 2 one-handed crossbows. It's a little bit odd, but I tested this myself quite a bit ago, and this is how it is right now. So there's really no reason to carry a quiver if you're going dual wielding, but you should be using a quiver especially if you're carrying a two-handed crossbow, which is why in my PvE build I actually have the increased critical hits. I have this same ability because the two-handed crossbow actually does a lot of damage, and if you crit with it, you're gonna be dealing a shitload of damage. So anyway, thanks for watching. This is my group PvE Demon Hunter build for Diablo 3 when it goes retail. Thanks for watching.